Greetings wherever you're watching us from, and welcome to Between the Lines, a show that discusses issues happening in Kenya, Africa, and the world. On 31st December, the World Health Organization announced and reported a pneumonia-like flu that had been reported in Wuhan, China. 6 months later, the same virus has claimed thousands of lives, left economies desolate, and changed the way of life of thousands and thousands of people around the world. A major issue that continues to be discussed is the mental health awareness among people, both suffering of the disease and those also affected or infected by the disease. From the documentary that we've just watched, we are joined today in studio by Ruth Chege, the face behind the documentary. Welcome, Ruth, to our show.
Thank you very much.
So first question, Ruth, what was the motivation behind Afya Kiakili na COVID-19, the documentary that we've just watched?
Okay, thank you very much. The motivation that was behind the Afya Kiakili na COVID-19 was born even before now. This is like my 5th episode on mental health. This journey I started with my friend called Iregi Mwenja. He was the one who invited me to cover a health mental that he was doing under his organization, the PDO. And from there now I gained the interest of knowing more about the mental health. And I found that there's still a gap in the society concerning the mental health. So coming back to Afya Kiakili na COVID-19 was majorly inspired by the uncertainty that is at the moment in terms of curbing the COVID-19. Many people have lost their jobs. Others have been retrenched. Others have lost their loved ones. There are so many issues surrounding the COVID-19. So I wanted to bring to light that mental health is something very sensitive in our day-to-day society. So many people are taking care of their physical health, and yet they are forgetting about their mental health. And mental health, because it starts from our way of thinking. So I wanted to bring it close now to the people to understand that our way of thinking is it is of so importance than our physical health, because our thinking, we become what we think.
True. Very good. The first character that you watched in the clip, that is Shadrach Mwangi. What is the story behind the man?
Shadrach Mwangi was a source that I met in Lakeview, and his story actually touched my heart because I could see grief at the same time. I could see despair because his wife, he has just received the news about a week ago that his wife have died in Saudi Arabia. So for me, that his story actually touched my heart, and I said, I think this is the best thing to show the people that people are actually suffering due to depression because of so many things, and this included losing a loved one in another country. How do you get to go on with your life? How do you manage to move on? And how do you also manage to get back the body?
And actually that was one of the points that came up in the discussion, that after receiving information that he had lost the wife, he was not even able to ferry the body back to Kenya and be able to offer the departed wife a decent burial. I think That is quite something. Then the second lady we meet in the documentary, that is Wangoi Waweru. Tell us something about her.
Wangoi Waweru is a businesswoman. I met her at the Masai market one day. She was demonstrating the business of slugs.
Okay.
She's known for selling the slugs to the Chinese market, to the people, to the foreigners actually, because most of the Kenyans don't take slugs. So for me, Wangoi Waweru's story, it's about stigmatization. When she had the symptoms of COVID-19, she was taken to isolation. And before being taken to the isolation, the people surrounding her in the neighborhood, they started calling her names. They started even destroying her business, because they associated the slugs business with the COVID-19. And even her family, they abandoned her, because they used to say that she has taken her children to her parents' home, because she knew that she had COVID-19, and yet she wanted to infect also the family. So in that whole situation of stigmatization, she fell into committing suicide, but by good luck she did not do it.
Do you think that the first case, as we watched in the documentary, and we know the first case of a COVID-19 patient in our country was in March, we are in June, that is around 3 months later. Do you think, as an individual, has the government done enough to sensitize people about COVID-19?
According to me, I think that the government have tried, because you cannot miss an advert of COVID in day to day. But where it has been missed a link is on mental health, because many people don't know how to deal with uncertainty, because the usual life that we were used to, now it is not there anymore. So people have been engaged, like now in a box, in a isolation. You are not supposed to visit your friends, you are not supposed, maybe you can work at home. And now the environment has changed, and not many people are used to that. So many people are affected mentally, and that's where now the government needs to put more effort on, because we can see on news each and every day that people are actually suffering. There is a case that I saw yesterday on KTN about a mother who has lost her husband due to COVID-19. So now the mother, she has, I guess, 3 children. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to get the food, the rent. They are left like in a desert. They don't know what next. And life does not stand still. It always continues, like life is always going on. So we have to deal with the mental issues of people. Many people are suffering mentally.
Okay. And for those who are watching us on the different platforms, on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube, feel free to send your comments or questions as the show continues. Then comes to the third case, which is actually quite close to us. This was a journalist, and who actually took his own life. Tell us something, Ruth.
Okay, I think the thing that most of us are not yet open to is depression. Depression is something that when it affects different individuals differently. Some withdraw, some they just remain quiet, others overreact. So in this case of a journalist, Corey was one person that could not share information to the others, or maybe even his closest friend could not know what was happening to him, or even if they inquired, he shut them off. So he was dealing with issues internally, and maybe most of the journalists in our field, they encounter so many things, because they deal with people, and those people are the people that journalists rely on them to give them information. So journalists, they don't have the space now to express themselves, because they are required now to give the information of, like, to be the link between the source and the media. So journalists, I think that maybe they are lacking somebody that they can talk to.
You have been a journalist. Right now you're a freelance journalist. Have you had instances as an individual that touched on your mental health or hygiene, if I may use that word, and how did you deal with it?
Okay, I think as a journalist, sometimes there are not even the stories that we do in the newsroom, but even individually, sometimes maybe there are goals you want to reach, but you cannot reach them. Sometimes there are obstacles, you don't know how to deal with them. So I have been, but mine has not been that to the mental state.
Okay.
But there have been challenges, and I have dealt with them, or even spoken to my loved ones about them, so that they can be able to help me cross over. But in every field, I believe there are challenges.
There are challenges, and the best thing is at least find an outlet of dealing with this. You've mentioned that this is not the first case you've done on mental health.
Yeah.
Could you in a few words or in a few minutes paint to us a picture of these other cases that you dealt with, and what were they all about?
Okay, there was a case that I did in Ward 8 at the PGH. They are just, as individuals, we can see them just as usual cases. One of them I remember was about a woman who had an abortion. Now, from having an abortion, she kept seeing the baby, and because she had bipolar, now it became worse, because the guilt, she had so many things going on, because at times she will be found at town having removed her clothes. So another one was about a relationship, a guy who have just broken up with her girlfriend, and it affected him, because the guy told me that was his first love. So even the relationship that nowadays are turning to crime, we have to look at them, because they are just not usual. There must be something behind it, like what is happening. Even there was also a case of drugs. Somebody has been using drugs for over some years, and those drugs led her to have mental issues. So mental health is something that is so big that we cannot box it in a box. Yeah.
Okay, impressive. I think as we move forward, we will maybe seek the assistance of maybe a psychiatrist or a psychologist. You met one in your documentary. We saw a psychologist. What did she say about? Did you share with her about these 3 other cases?
When we met, I only had the second source.
Okay.
So she was discussing it from the second source perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was her opinion?
Her opinion was we have different personalities. We have the extroverts and the introverts.
Okay.
So the personality affect, in terms of mental, they affect individuals differently. So if you are an introvert, maybe you will tend to be more quiet than usual, and maybe if you are an extrovert, you'll be tend to be more loud than usual. So she also touched on that people should now learn to be the first stage is now accepting. Accepting this is the situation. When you accept now you find the solution to what's next, because many of us have not accepted the situation. If I have lost a job, how do I deal with life from henceforth? Do I give up or do I keep pushing? So, and she talked about also looking at your vision. Sometimes vision may tarry. Even the word of God tells us that write your vision with capital letters or bold letters. It may tarry, but it may come to pass. So we should not be discouraged when it is taking too long. Even when we see others, they are flying higher and higher, and yet we are still on the same position. We should understand that time and season happens to everyone. So we should just be pushing and be grateful for each day, because when we look at others, when we start comparing with others, that's when depression kicks in, and we are not able to get ourselves out of it. Yeah.
Impressive. Did you or have you been in contact with your sources since you did the documentary, and how are they doing?
My first source, Shadrach Mwangi, we talked this morning.
Okay.
He told me that the body, their logistic that they are planning now, I think the embassy have given him the right now for the body now to come back home.
Okay.
So we are expecting that he'll be able to have the body of the wife.
Okay.
And maybe that will bring about consolation. So my hope for Shadrach is that maybe the county government or Samaria Mwema somewhere may be touched by his story and help him in terms of his children, because he has 4 kids, and the work that he does, it gets in little cash.
Okay.
So he's not able to sustain them. So my plea for Shadrach is that he may get help.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about Wangoi?
Wangoi is, so I think we talked with her last week. Wangoi is a strong woman. She's also advocating for stigmatization. She has become like an ambassador.
Okay.
She's like advocating for the truck drivers, giving them marks. Like she has taken the challenge.
Okay.
And now she's just spreading the love all over. Yeah.
Thank you, Ruth. For those who are watching, Ruth Chege, we've been discussing with Ruth Chege, documentary Afya Kiakili na COVID-19. You can watch it on our platforms, that is on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Our hashtag is mental health awareness. Find us there at Nakuru TV on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. I've been your presenter, Karanja Jackson. Keep the discussion going on. Hope to see you soon. Stay safe. Thank you.